Nitrogen pollution is detrimental to the ecology of the river because it strips it of the oxygen that's needed to promote life. And eventually what will happen is it's like a slow killing of the river. Nitrogen is a chemical element that's pretty much in everything that we touch and see. You know, it's a basic component of proteins. But the way that it gets into the river, it's there naturally. But what we're doing as humans is overloading the river with the amount of nitrogen that it can handle. You'll start to lose plants, you'll start to lose shellfish, and eventually it'll be basically a big dead zone if it were to keep impacting the river. And I don't know how to say it. You know, if we don't do something to stop our inputs of nitrogen into the river, basically we'll end up killing it. Nitrogen gets into the river by several pathways, let's say. We as people add extra nitrogen to the river through our wastewater, which means, you know, our sewage, our household waste, our toilet water, our shower water. We also like to, as people, fertilize our lawns. That's another way. Lawn fertilizer is nitrogen. Basically, you're putting it down to make your lawn grow. Well, that's exactly what it does to the river. Also, waste from animals, whether they're wild or domestic. You know, when it rains, it drains, we like to say. And so everything that's on the land gets washed off and flows to the lowest point, which is the river.
Once it gets to the river, again, it acts like fertilizer, and it stimulates the growth of a lot of algae, macroalgae. And that macroalgae does a number of things, but mainly it kills a lot of the eelgrass, coats the eelgrass dies.
Eelgrass is a very special plant that only likes to grow where its water quality conditions are really pristine, we say. It's a kind of submerged aquatic vegetation that if there's too much cloudiness in the water from too much algae growing out of control, the eelgrass kind of gets suffocated. It needs crystal clear water so that it can see the sun to photosynthesize properly.
The eelgrass is very important because it's a hatchery for our fish and shellfish. When the stuff is very small, it finds shelter within the eelgrass.
They sit and hide in these tiny plants until they're big enough to survive out here in the environment. So without these eelgrass plants, they're more easily picked off by predators, and you know, their populations dwindle.
We use scientific data to promote and to back up our advocacy, because a long time before you see the dead fish in the water or plants and soil depleted, and we're going to see effects that can only be picked up by samples.
So we're here at Trips Marina here in Westport on the Watershed Alliance boat. It's a Carolina skiff. That's a nice flat bottom boat that helps us get way up in the shallow parts of the upper parts of the river. And we take this out once a week in the summertime and do our water testing. The Watershed Alliance has been working for 20+ years to monitor nitrogen and bacteria levels in the river. It's done by taking actual samples of the water, bringing them to the laboratory for analysis of bacteria or for nitrogen. And we also work with, you know, high-level scientists at the university level, specifically UMass Dartmouth. They did a very intensive study of the river called the Massachusetts Estuaries Project that, you know, utilized not only samples of the water, but they did hydrodynamic modeling and land use analysis. So they're putting together all these computer tools along with the samples that we collect to actually figure out the conditions of the water. And then they will use a computer model to project what the solutions might be, what we can change to make things better.
When we go to the town or we go to the state and we say, look, the health of the river is getting worse. We need to stop putting nitrogen into the water now. We need to mitigate that. We need to eliminate those sources, because if we don't, then we are going to see dead fish floating in the water.
Perhaps we can find a better way to equalize the use and the care of the waters when it comes to recreation, and maybe find a better balance so we can try to ensure we have clean waters for everybody to enjoy, whether they're in a boat, out of a boat, in a canoe, swimming, whether they're clamming or fishing.
The Westport River Watershed Alliance has been working with the community and different towns for many years now to try to help solve some of these pollution problems. You know, we figured out, and so have a lot of people, that a lot of these pollution problems are driven by stormwater runoff. So whatever we can do to slow down stormwater, you know, rainwater, and get it back into the ground before it runs on pavement and picks up oil, grease, bacteria, whatever. The more we can do to slow it down, to remove pavement, and to keep that water clean, the more we help our river. So we've worked with the town and local farmers on their property to help sort of treat some of these stormwater runoff issues. And I think because of that, we've seen some great improvements at the head of Westport, where we've built, with the town, a constructed wetland that treats stormwater runoff from the top of the river.
There's these storm drains that are in the road, and when it rains, the water goes into the storm drain, and it went into a pipe under the ground, and the pipe emptied directly into the river. And now, instead of it going straight into the river, which would also carry any pollution that it collected along the way on the road, now it goes and gets diverted into this created wetland. So when there's a heavy rain, instead of going straight into the river, it now makes a turn and it goes into the created wetland over there, which slows it down and gives some of it a chance to settle out, some of it a chance for the plants to use up and filter out, and it just helps it clean up in the wetland because it slows it all down.
People could stop coming here in the summer months when it's so important to our economy and to local folks who live here year-round to have a strong summer contingent of people who come here to live and use the stores, buy goods in the stores, and keep this boatyard running. A lot of jobs depend on the tourism industry here. So that's why it's very important to connect those two things, the environment and tourism.